There's been another sharp fall in the number of new homes for sale this summer.
And that's pushing up prices again. Ben's taking a closer look at the state of the housing market. Morning.
Morning to you both. Thanks very much. Yes, good morning to you too. You might have seen last week that an ex-council flat in London sold for over £1.2 million. It's 9 times what the owners bought it for 25 years ago. And even though that is a bit of an extreme example, it is a good one of how supply and demand in the market is still driving up prices. While demand for new homes is high, 8 million people are currently renting their home in England, and with rental prices now higher than ever, many are preferring instead to buy. But fewer than 120,000 new homes were built in England last year. That means that the supply of homes on the market has hit a record low. Figures today show the number of new sellers on one website is down by 8% on the same time last year. And when demand is high and supply is low, well, prices rise. One lender has warned that they're actually up another 3.5% on the same time last year. Well, Kate Faulkner is an independent property expert. She's with me this morning. Kate, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I mean, we can talk here about all the different factors affecting the market, but the underlying issues we touched on there is the fact we're not building enough new homes. So whilst there's a shortage, prices are going to stay high, aren't they?
Well, they are, as long as people can still continue to buy, and when you've got disparity in earnings, if you like. So you've got the wealthy people are increasing their wealth so they can afford to sort of bid, if you like, and bid house prices up. And then meanwhile, you've got a sector below where wages aren't increasing, and it's much, much tougher for them, therefore, to get on the ladder because house prices are almost moving slightly out of their reach.
Why are builders not building more homes? It sounds like a simple thing, that there's clearly demand there, people willing to pay money for them. So you suggest to house builders, well, simply build some more. Well,
that's fine, but what they'll say to you is, well, give me the land and we will do that. And you have to bear in mind that it was only during the financial crash, these guys they were worse than on their knees. You know, companies like Barratt were really, really struggling. And it is a very sort of boom and bust industry from that side of things. So it's very difficult to plan for the long term. I have to say Help to Buy has been very useful because that's really brought in a lot of first-time buyers and encouraged them to buy new. So it is good that we've done that. But you have to, from the start of the process, we have to have the land. That has to be sold at a reasonable price. Then you have to have the people living around that land wanting those new homes to be built before the developer can really do their job, because they only make their money when they build and sell. So they're keen to do that. But if it takes 10 years to get planning, that's hard work.
Yeah, and a very long process. I mean, what strikes me too is that the house builders haven't necessarily kept up with changing demand, changing markets. I mean, do they still assume that everybody moves out of their parents' home in their 20s, they move in with a wife and 2 children into a nice new home? And life has changed, so people wanting to move out, people living longer, not necessarily downsizing from a big house, that's changed. But has the builder's approach changed?
Well, I think it has. I mean, you've got sort of bespoke companies like McCarthy & Stone and Pegasus that have done an amazing job at building fantastic communities for those in retirement. And where they go into an area, people do trade down to their properties, and then that releases more stock onto the market. And that's the big problem that we have, is we haven't got enough new build coming through, but we have hardly any existing homes coming on the market because people are staying in them a lot longer because they're getting older.
And briefly, a word on self-build, new build. I mean, are we doing abroad? That's much more common than it is here. We still rely on somebody else building a house for us and we buy it. Why are we not doing more ourselves here?
Yeah, I mean, you see all the television programmes, you think it was happening every single day, but it isn't. And I think people are actually quite frightened of the concept of self-build and think, A, it costs an awful lot of money, and secondly, you'll have a struggle and you'll have a row with somebody during the build. And what they do abroad is something called custom build, whereby I would come to you and I'd say, here's a plot that I've got available. Everything's done. You tell me, here's the exterior, but you tell me what you'd like done on the inside. And that is just starting to happen. And that could be the real revolution that we need to drive much more stock and get local approval to do so.
One we'll watch very closely. Kate, really good to talk to you. Thanks so much for explaining that. Kate Faulkner there, a property expert. And just before 8, I'm going to talk to the chief exec, one of our biggest house builders, and I'll put some of those issues to him. I'll see you then.
All right, Ben. Thanks very much.